Hello and welcome to this week's look at the world of action and stunts on film and television from LA. It's my turn to visit the boys from Stunts Unlimited. A wonderful day, a day I will never forget. I have dreamt about going to Los Angeles, but I particularly dreamt about visiting those stuntmen that are just names on credits, people that you know, recognise, but chances are will never meet. Well, I got an opportunity to do that, and it was an extraordinary experience. These are their new offices. They moved there a number of years ago, and it's beautiful. It's out of the way. It's in a little place called Calabasas, and it's very nice, very quiet. There's a road going by, but nevertheless, it's very quiet. It's a lovely, lovely spot. And I had arranged through Carrie in the office there to meet three extraordinary individuals. Alan Olney, who many will know from the Mod Squad, maybe back in the 60s. But many of my viewers will remember him as Eddie Murphy's stunt double on the Beverly Hills Cop movies, which we talk about in this. Greg Barnett, who is a wonderful individual, who's been involved, everything from those days working. When did he start the business? 72, he started officially. And many will know him as Robert Wagner's stunt double on Heart to Heart for many, many years. And Buddy Joe Hooker, who has done everything with everyone at least twice, maybe three times. He's done every possible gag there is, and it was remarkable to have those three individuals generally just chatting about the business. I would pitch in every once in a while with a direction or an idea of a question, and then they would run with it. One would take up the mantle, and then Greg would take over, and Buddy would take over, and Alan would have a go, and they'd all have a bit. It was really quite exciting. It was much simpler than formatting questions. As I said, and as I was told afterwards, Buddy said, that was really quite nice. I enjoyed that. And Greg said the same thing. And I said, well, it's if you do it as questions and answers, you don't really get the right feel for the whole thing. If we just do it as a chat, then it's much simpler. And they all agreed, and we all sat down and we had a chat. And that chat is what you're going to see. You will have heard the podcast this week, which is them chatting. But here you get an option to be able to see some of the stuff that they're referring to and the way in which they interact with each other, which I think is particularly exciting. So buckle up, eyes down for a full house. Here they come. It's interesting that once Ronnie had discovered you at UCLA from your gymnastics background, how long was it before you started working as in the field of stunt work?
They interviewed me in July of 1968.
Okay.
And the following month, which was June. In July, I was working.
Right.
What they did was Ronnie brought me in, and they had some other people interviewing him, and the director and Clarence Williams III came out and they looked at me and said, "Let's try him." Okay. Because Ronnie told him that I was a gymnast.
Yeah, right.
You know, because Ronnie Rondell was a gymnast also.
Yes.
Also, he was a diver.
And a diver.
Yes.
He was probably one of the most fluid stuntmen in the world.
Yes.
I wanted to be exactly
We had somebody
like him.
Somebody in the UK called Alf Joint.
Oh, Elf.
Who was,
Yeah.
he was, remember the milk tray man,
Yeah.
the milk tray advert? He did a 157-foot high dive off a cliff. There's in the bay below is a big yacht, and his eyesight wasn't the greatest, so they got him to do it twice. But
That's high.
Oh man, yeah.
Into water.
But whenever there was falls and bits and pieces, he was the man that would come in and do it. So it's interesting from that point of view, because I think your first two credits down are Mod Squad, one of them, and the other one is a thing called Hell's Angels 69. I'm not entirely
Did you
convinced
work on
what
that?
was. That's what it's referred to anyway on IMDb and various other locations.
I
is
worked on that.
Yeah.
Did you worked on that?
Did you?
Yeah, the whole time.
I didn't
Okay.
know. I didn't.
And we were working with the Oakland Hells Angel chapter, the first time that they had
Wow.
ever really, any real Hells Angels had ever been on film.
Okay.
And we had all of them. And over 3 months after taking acid with them and everything else,
Blending
we
in.
became lifelong buddies.
I bet.
You know, they were great guys, man. You know, most of them are gone.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, from the UCLA thing, working with Ronnie, and it's not a million miles away from what you did, Gray, either. Because now I'm just trying to remember. As a professional diver and an instructor, which is what you were doing, Robert Urich on
Robert Urich, SWAT.
SWAT,
Yep.
right? And they'd asked you to double him, doing some underwater bits and pieces. So leading up to that, you'd obviously had a career already, but it was a similar sort of exercise to go. What do you want? You want me to double him and do what and get paid how much? And, you know, all boxes were ticked. It's a similar story in some respects.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's like pay you to go do.
You're going to pay
Have
me? I
fun.
know.
Yes.
I had just finished my Hell Week for a week in Catalina
Right.
with all the UDT and the people that train you underwater. They take your gear, they throw it in the water, you go down, hold your breath 30 feet, get it, put it on, etc., etc.
Got it.
So it was Freddie Washoe, but Zyker said, I got a job for you. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. So I said, oh, okay. Well, a month passed by, and I said, well, I don't think that's going to happen, because I'd already joined SAG by signing up with AGVA, American Guild of Variety Artists, and if you stay there, you got a year, then you can join. I thought, oh God, I hope it stays like this. And you go and paid my $300, got in them, and then you can, it was great. So long story short, Zyker came that month later and found me again and said, "Are you still going?" "Oh, I'd love to, but I thought I hadn't seen you. I thought it was done." And so Ronnie Rondell was the second director. We did getting paid for this. We did 3 days there, staying on the same ship that everybody goes, "Hey, there's Barnett. There's Barnett." They already knew me already from the UD. And Baxley, Rondell, all the names we know, they go, "Who's Barnett?" And boy, they sure knew me after this and all the water and doing this. It was just so fun. I went, steak and baked potatoes and pie a la mode. I said, "This is work. Feed me." Oh my gosh.
Then pay you.
Pay me.
And pay.
Oh my gosh, 3 days of that? Well, because we know that was $172.50. We remember that pay.
remember
We
that.
remember it well. So, wow.
The starving diving instructor.
Yes, literally, it was wonderful.
So so there's a pattern here. Well, when we look at Buddy, I mean, as a child actor, as an extra, all of that, you came right away from very, very early on. And was it a relatively simple transition from being on set all the time, knowing the people, being around them, and getting to know that you had ability in this and this?
Well, not really. The first time I did a stunt was on Rin Tin Tin when I was 13,
Okay.
working for my father, who was the stunt coordinator.
Right.
Then I worked doubling the kid on that for 2 or 3 seasons, and then he said, "I don't want you to do stunts," because he knew what that was all about,
Uh-huh.
because he came out of the Western stunt area,
Yes.
where most of those people had really, they didn't understand the word body control or had no gymnastics background or any of that kind of stuff. So every time they did a saddle fall or fell a horse or whatever, they ended up, breaking a collarbone, doing something to their shoulder. So he realized that it wasn't good for his son to do that, so he got me into acting.
Right.
So then that was a whole nother transition, which was kind of great, but I wasn't that excited about it. I worked a lot and everything, but it was, had nothing to do with the stunt world whatsoever. Then I kept acting, and then at one point when I was out of high school and junior college, all that stuff. I was probably about 20, something like that. I went to my father and said, okay, enough of the acting thing. I would really like to do what my passion is. I want to do stunt work. So he said, fine, I'll help you all I can. And back in those days, the way you really, the Stuntmen's Association was the only organized professional group of stuntmen there were. So they were no help because it was the old boy network that, you know, they hired within their group. And if didn't matter that my father was a well-known stuntman, that was even worse because they're jealous types. So the only way that you really got work is that you joined Teddy's, which was an answering service at the time. We had no cell phones, no beepers yet, or any of that kind of stuff. So that was the first thing I had to do. And to get on Teddy's was like a major deal. But my father was a wheeler and a dealer. He knew Teddy O'Toole. He, you know, was there at Christmas time every year with the bottles of their favorite booze, all that kind of shit. So he got me on Teddy's. That was the first thing. And he said, the next way to do it is you got to join the Screen Extras Guild. Okay. And I went, I don't want to be like an extra. He goes, listen to me. That's where it's all coming down, is because you work as an extra. Back then, it was the ADs generally that were the stunt coordinators. They would go, okay, we need a guy on a horse over here. We need somebody to do this. Can you fall off and crash through a table? Yep. And so all of a sudden, they would take you from your E card and put you on your A card. Okay. So all of a sudden, you're getting, you know, you're learning. You're getting a lot of information on how everything works. And you start meeting coordinators. And then they would have these big calls for films like Bo Jest or Tobruk or some of these old films where they would hire 30 extras. And we went to Yuma on Bo Jest for you know, like 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks. Hal Needham was the stunt coordinator. So all of a sudden, you know, 30 of us come blasting down this hill, and he would say, okay, you get shot when you reach this point. You know, and you'd go down and look at it, and there's boulders and all kinds of shit, right? So I come down, my first thing like that, I just, you know, come apart and leap through the air because I had gymnastic. I was on the gymnastic team, diving team, all that. So, you know, it was nothing to me. So I just leaped through the air, went about 15 feet. I already had found a kind of a soft spot, hit the thing, like tumbled another 20 feet or something. And they said, cut. To me, I was having a blast. You know, it's the kind of stuff that you do all the time, just playing around. So Hal Needham goes, cut, son of a bitch, he says, who is that guy over there? Who is that guy? So he has them bring me over to him. What's your name? And I said, Joe Hooker. Okay, well, that was something. So all of a sudden now I'm on Hal Needham's radar.
Oh, gosh.
You know, but there was also coming down the hill, there was guys like Alan Gibbs, Gary McClarty, Billy Burton, and all these kind of stuff, but they didn't unload like I did one time.
Immediately.
Yeah. I mean, and in my mind, I was, that's what I knew was going to make something happen. Right. Is you just had to do something that was so flamboyant that it overshadowed everything everybody else was doing.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
You see,
imagine
and
if
that's
you hadn't have done that at that
Oh
moment,
yeah.
how long that would have
Well,
taken.
That's right.
There was multitude of situations where I would have found that spot.
Right.
I was just looking for it. and those spots came up again and again. Like there was like the Foreign Legion guys where we, they would say, okay, you're Foreign Legion, Foreign Legion, Foreign Legion. And Alan Gibbs and Dick Zeiker, they were these sneaky kind of guys. So they would go in and they would get dressed as a legionnaire and they would get the Arab wardrobe as well. So whenever, okay, we need a bunch of Legion guys to do this, to fall off of it, whatever, they would go get dressed up in their shit, right? So, I went and got my wardrobe. So there was like all these kind of things that you had the opportunity to do. And I found out at that point is if you're ever going to do any stunt, I don't care if it's a one-punch fight or whatever it is, you got to go all out.
Right.
You got to put everything you have into it. You don't ever do anything halfway. You got to go big because that's the nature of our game.
Go big or go
And
home.
that paid off in big dividends over my career because that was a kind of a way you got your name and reputation is by doing these kind of things where you
And
do
that's
some and everybody
and
goes,
that's the advantage, I think, that, like Joe said, of a gymnast.
Right.
Because we had control of our bodies.
Yeah.
And we can sell out because we knew how to land, how to
and
fall.
we walked away.
And walked
It was
away
like,
Well,
easily.
and most importantly, because you had control of that body and because you knew where you were and how far you were traveling, if the director said, we need another one, we do it again, you do it exactly the
oh,
same.
please,
Please.
please, let's do another
money.
But back then, the money, at least for me,
Yes.
it was immaterial. I didn't even give a shit. There would be
That's
some days where later on, after I knew what an adjustment was, is that I would leave without even asking about my adjustment because I didn't care. It was about doing it and getting to perform. And that's what it's all about. And these guys will tell you too, is like we're performers.
Yeah.
And there comes a time where when we're on a set, is that we are the stars.
Yes.
Everybody is looking at you. Everybody is waiting to see what you're going to do because they know when any one of us showed up, something was going to happen big. And so you have the spotlight and you're a star for a moment, right? So that's kind of what was a big motivation, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
Is to have those opportunities to shine and do what we do, and I never ever thought of getting hurt or dying or any of that stuff. No matter what I did, never once while I'm on a cliff getting ready to fall off on first blood, I wasn't thinking was I gonna die, or having fear control me. It's something that we all kind of learn how to deal with, and you take that fear. It's a good thing because it makes you understand, what you're involved in, but you take that and
Channel it in a
put
different
it,
way.
you put it in your pocket.
Yeah, and it's still the same way. It's like when you're in gymnastics, you're out there you're performing.
Yes.
Everybody's looking at you. It's the same. And it's the same
deal.
thing.
Yeah, the airtime I've seen both of these guys do.
Oh, well.
And this was a cat here,
Yes.
Joe. And then one time,
Remember that name? Not to interrupt you, but back when we first started, the best compliment you can make if somebody says, "Hey, that kid's catty," like that, you move like a cat. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. And then I'm chasing Joe. We're bridging the gap in a military movie, going towards the bad guys. Joe's in front of me. Joe sets this mini tramp there, and I got to be behind Joe, and I'm watching this, and so when they say action, all the explosions are going off. Joe hits that, takes the hit at the same time. Brandy's out, throws a nice one, and I keep running by Joe. Oh man, that was great! But I didn't let anybody see me. Sitting there thinking, I got my gun. I start shooting still, and I'm still going back. I wanted to look back at Joe, but I couldn't. It was. Do you remember, Joe?
Oh, yeah.
What were we on? I don't know. There's so many things that.
How many times?
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Well, that was one of the first times that I had ever used a mini tramp, because used to it, you would just go and do it.
Our air ram.
And
Yeah.
Ronnie taught me that trick.
Yeah.
That was before Aram.
Yeah, around
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
air ramps
yes.
hadn't come around yet.
That's right.
But that's how I met Ronnie, was on Tobruk as an extra again
Is that Rock Hudson?
with Rock Hudson. And we're down in Yuma, same thing, 30 extras, blah, 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 doing a Tobruk Second World War movie. And I see Ronnie over there with some of his buddies at lunchtime and everything, and they're running and hitting this thing and flying through the air, and I'm going, yeah, this looks cool. So I go over and I kind of stand around and lurking and watching, and I start asking Ronnie some questions about what that thing is and why is he doing it and all this. And we got to be kind of friendly, and so he said, hey, well, later on we have some time. Do you want to try it? I'll show you how to do it. So that was my first introduction to Ronnie. That's how I met him. And so from then on,
What show was that?
Tobruk. And I was an extra, and then I ended up, I hate to keep talking, but
I'll get another question then, so
I,
we'll carry on with this stuff.
I ended up on that job. There was a bunch of rappelling to do down the side of the cliff. And Ronnie, one day I was watching him and a couple of guys doing it. And I went to him, I go, wow, I'd really like to do that. And so he said, okay, well, when we have some time, when we get back home, because we're going to shut down for a while, we'll go up to the Bronson Caves in Hollywood, and I will teach you how to rappel. Because coming up, when we come back to Yuma, we're going to have like 15 guys rappelling. So all of a sudden, here Ronnie has turned me on to another good thing, and I end up getting to do one of the bigger stunts with Phil Adams coming over this bunker where they blow the whole thing up and everything. And to make a long story a little longer is that when we were doing these things, they put us on our A card, and we were getting I think $500 a trip over these cliffs, rappelling. And we were doing it sometime 4 or 5 times a day. So by the end of my stay there in Tobruk, with all the rappelling and all that kind of stuff, I made $10,000 on my A card. And what that meant was, in order to get into the Stuntmen's Association, you had to have made $10,000 in a year to be eligible.
Right, I remember that.
So Ronnie got me in there.
That's fantastic.
So take the stage. I'm sorry.
No, it was good. We did.
What's also interesting talking to you three is that there are so many stunt performers now, here and abroad, who will instantly recognise your names, often on the shows that you've worked on, and have been a sort of catalyst in wanting to get in the business. I know a bunch of people who, and I'm one of them, who's fascinated with Heart to Heart. You know, you worked on that for so many years, 106 episodes, I think.
Thank you. I worked on that too.
See, everybody gets credit because of that. 106 episodes, doubling our RJ, and Barbie was there with Stephanie Power.
Yes.
Hooper, First Blood, you name it, all sorts of bits and pieces. Beverly Hills Cop, which will turn on. So many things. Recognition as it stands. You mentioned something very there a moment where you get on a set, and for those few moments you are the star. For those few frames, you are the character. You're the guy that you're doubling, etc. From a recognition perspective about performance and the job you do in cinema, it's taken a very long time to get to a big level, but we're sat in front of these remarkable statues here, and of course Taurus is 25 years old this year.
Wow.
So do you think that recognition has come as far as it can go, and certainly worthy of the recognition that everybody deserves? Greg?
When you say recognition, do you mean personal recognition or recognition of the stunt
Recognition
entity?
It's recognition of the community and the work that the community does in making the movies and television so impactful.
You know, I couldn't answer that because I've been out of the business for so long now.
Yeah, but you know it all. It's
Yeah, I think that everybody has a goal, and to do a big stunt.
Right.
I don't care if it was back in the 40s or today. I think everyone would like to be recognized as a big stunt.
In regards to that, is the only difference now is that there is so many stunt people.
Yes.
And there's riggers and there's wire work and there's all this kind of stuff. Is that I feel nowadays it's much harder to get recognition for big stunts because, you know, you'll do some stuff but nobody even realizes who it was that did it, and there's so much of that stuff going on that names don't come up, and they're not asking, wow, who did that?
Yeah.
Or who did this? I think that part of it is gone now.
And I think another part of it is the AI,
Right.
because you don't know if it's AI or the real stunt.
CGI, all that
CGI,
stuff.
no.
That's right.
What's interesting, I think, we can look at it in two ways. Let's take you for instance.
Yes.
If there weren't any people who would be able to go along and perform stunts on some of the movies that you've worked on, let's say, Eddie Murphy may not have a career as an action actor in that period. You know, it's safe to say that if you take the action out of the Beverly Hills Cop movies, let's use those as an example, you've got yourself a maybe 45-minute drama, which doesn't really tick all the boxes it's supposed to do, and yet you being there has moved that to a different level, allowing the character to
You
push
have
on.
to have an uplifting of the movie,
Precisely.
something that'll keep you awake.
Yeah, and in respect to what you were saying there about so many, it's a very different
Stunt.
world now from when
Yes.
you started and when Stunts Unlimited
Yes.
started back
Yes.
then. Because nowadays, you know, every performer has an Instagram page, every performer has
Yep.
TikTok and all sorts of bits and pieces, and anybody in the world can go, oh, I wonder who this is. Oh, there they are. You know, it's easy to
Yeah.
find. But in those original days, you were, and I use the word, which I think is right, pioneering for what has
It
come.
was all word of mouth.
Yes.
And everything, which made everything much more personal.
Right.
Like the industry was smaller and it was easier, you know, for people to know who was doing what. And in regards to Eddie Murphy and what he did, is that we go back to that situation where action and stunts help really define a character.
Yes.
So without the things that Alan was able to do and what was written in the script, Eddie Murphy's character wouldn't be the same guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so that's another thing that I think people are failing to realize. The Academy, number one, is that they don't realize how important action is to a film. You know, it defines characters, it defines situations, it's huge in storytelling, and it, you know, they have failed to really realize that. And action's been here since the silent films.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They do what everything does now. When
Yeah.
you know you want to sell a picture, what do? Well, in the trailer, you make it as impactful as you possibly can. We chatted about this briefly earlier on by putting as much action in there as possible. All the stunts are in there, all the big bits and pieces. And then they got to a stage where they just didn't recognise that, but they sold the movie. We've all been there. We've all seen a trailer and gone, Jesus, that looks great. And you
Yeah.
go there and realise you've been mugged. because the rest of the movie's terrible. That moment, that's sensational. I love that,
And reverting back to your broad scope question also, I think that has a lot to do, and Alan and Joe will, I think, verify that, is the opportunity.
Yes.
If you have the opportunity, we're going to get all this.
Yes.
In the 70s when we started, the boys were 60s. I started in 72, but that's not too bad. But
You're a mere child.
I was a child. We had this, and I know if I did, my boys did. I did, but Zyker and Rondell and Mushy Mushy, Glenn Wilder worked it out. I did a horse drag, then I did a fight, and then I did a high fall. I said, I can't do all that. The UPM, the producer, they're going to get mad. I'm not there on time. No. We got it all worked out. They did. Ronnie would call ahead. I went from Zyker to Rondell to Glenn Wilder into 3 gags and got 3 172.50s. I thought I'm it.
In one day.
In one day, what you couldn't think you could do. But I'm sure they had 2 or 3 also, and too many. But we had big gags, big opportunities, big monies, because we were with these names that we all know, and the ones that we're hearing and saying, Hal and Rondell and. Oh my gosh!
That was the beauty of it, and referring back to Britain, is that when back in the '60s, for instance, you had shows like The Saint, The Avengers, Department S, Prisoner. They were all filmed on the same lot at Elstree or wherever they were. So you'd do a job here, and then you'd go over to the Prisoner and do a fight, and then you'd go over to the Saint and do a fall down a set of stairs.
Yes.
And then you'd go and do something else, and then on the back lot you'd do a little driving thing, all in the one day. But nowadays you can't do that.
You can't.
Because there's so much going on.
Remember,
with so many people.
You'd be doing 2 shows, working one in the day and one at night.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And go from one to the other.
Oh my.
There are a lot of performers working today who are doing the job because of what you've done. That's fact. It's that simple. Throw a stick and you'll hit half a dozen who are, who would love to be in a situation where I'm sat here with you 3 now. That must be a great shot in the arm, surely, to recognise the fact that the stuff that you've done has single-handedly been responsible for this individual doing the job they do now. You meet them on sets, you employ them properly,
Yes.
Yes.
And we look at I call it admirable what we've done. We didn't do wires.
No.
You went off that big high fall. You did that big turnover. There was no wires. And then now everything is wires, and really gentlemen
Cables.
that moved to the cables and the wire work really wasn't getting stunt jobs. Right? That's what kind of, but there's very, very good ones now. And
There's also a question in relation to safety and relation to
Yes.
injury, because with the inclusion of wire work comes additional responsibility and a gymnastic movement.
Yes.
Being aware of where you are, being aware of where those cables are, being aware of the weight load allowing you to get from point A to point B. And we know, we probably all know of individuals who have suffered injuries working with wires and having one go, although they're much heavier wires now. They used to be piano wire when people did use wires.
D piano wires.
D piano.
I worked at Walt Disney Studios off and on for about 6 or 7 years straight. So I worked with Art Vitarelli, who was the head second unit director, action guy, and everything. And that's all we did, like films like The World's Greatest Athlete, all these kind of things
Escape to Witch Mountain,
were
stuff like that.
done on wires.
Right.
I mean, they were the premier wire guys. They had a whole department of guys that sat in there that all they did was wire and tie wires for certain sequences and stuff for whatever you were doing. So I learned a lot being there. They were the first ones that they had this thing called a jumping jack, which would kind of yank you around, which was the forerunner. That's where Hal Needham came up with his first air ratchet.
Okay.
I thought that was Denny Arnold.
Huh?
Denny Arnold.
No, Denny Arnold.
Denty?
Come from Canada. He came.
Denny
here.
Arnold
Yes.
got that ratchet from
Ratchet.
Hal.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
And he created it, and
Well-
because I was one of the first dummies that tried it.
But Denny Arnold was, Hal, after Hal got his recognition for all that stuff and everything, he handed that off to Denny.
Denny, okay.
So now
okay.
Denny was the
Okay.
guy with the ratchet.
Right, right.
Again, Denny was also the guy that didn't know how to rig it or use it properly. If you wrote it, you probably know.
I wrote it.
I saw plenty
it was
of guys
successful. It
Get
was a
knocked
success.
cold because he didn't realize that you had to run the cable from the guy's back low and run it high. He it took a long time for him to learn that because he was anchoring the cable down here.
Which would,
And so as soon as they hit the button,
yep,
the
yep.
guy was headed straight for the floor.
The ground, yeah. Wow.
They
So all of that stuff, the innovation that I had seen from technology working at Disney to how it evolved into the air ramps, all that kind of stuff was phenomenal. I mean, the technical things we have now compared to what we started out with is pretty phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
As action goes on, technology moves on, making it easier or more complicated, depending on how you look at it,
Yeah.
to get that final desired effect. You were saying that you were one of the first to try this,
yeah,
this particular piece
I
of
used it on some feature film, and I had to be standing on a fence, and it was going through a car wash. And what happened was that the car was going through the wash, and I was supposed to get shot and land on the windshield.
Okay.
Which came out.
Did it come out good?
Yeah, it came
good.
out good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, it came.
Dude.
I mean, I was like from here to the corner of that wall, and it hit me, and I flew. Everybody clapped.
Wow.
Okay.
Just as long as you
Good
can
job.
hit it and get there. I know. And you mentioned the talented Rocky Taylor on fire, high fall, and his vision was obscured.
Yeah.
You couldn't see when you're going to go for the airbag.
Yeah, the whole thing had changed dramatically
Yeah.
since the rehearsal.
Yes.
The rehearsal was get to the edge of the building, jump, we blow it up behind you.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
And they had a submerged bag or a buck rig.
Yes.
And he got to the edge of the thing, and the fire was much bigger than
Mhm.
anticipated. And underneath, which he wasn't aware of,
Always much.
was
Always.
Always.
yeah. The director had got to the special effects man and said, "That little match that you did earlier,
Little match.
it needs to be much bigger." And underneath were
Bigger.
kerosene barrels, and this thing went up like a so. The flames are huge. He can't see the landing area. Has a pretty good idea where it is, but realises he's got to get off the building or he's going to die.
That's right.
So he says, "I think it's there." He jumped and missed it by 4 feet. Got one leg on and the other one off.
That's not good.
Snapped his pelvis and did all sorts
He's
of-
still okay today, though, right?
He still works,
Okay.
in a very smaller capacity, but he can still do a driving job if necessary, or a fight, or stuff of coordinating particularly.
Good.
Those days of him. In fact, the first job back, ironically, after he had his period off, we're in hospital and all the terrible things, was on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade,
Ah.
doubling Sean Connery in the fireplace with Harrison Ford. Vic wasn't in there, it was Harrison Ford was in there with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the revolving fireplace, and the curtains are on fire, and the broom's on fire. And so June 19th, 1988, which was exactly the same date as he did the high fall on the Death Wish picture, nearly killed him. And at the end of that shot, when they got it done, there was a big round of applause in the room for getting the job done, but particularly for Rocky having survived all of that and done exactly another fire job on that very day. It was remarkable. It was absolutely remarkable.
Wow.
But those type of things should never be allowed to happen.
No.
Well, the evolution of high falls and stuff like that is the fact that he missed his catcher by 4 feet or
Yeah.
whatever. Is my approach to a catcher is to make it big enough
So you can't.
that the person physically, no matter what they do, can't miss it.
Right.
You know, you don't have it 8 feet out from where he's leaving from. You put it right up against the wall.
That's right.
And you put it whatever the length. If they don't have an airbag that there is that size or whatever you need, you go to boxes. Boxes are as good as anything.
Or throw some porta pits out there.
Yeah.
Not a postage stamp.
There's no reason ever for anybody to miss their catcher.
No.
Well, that's why you have safety men around.
That's why
So
you have
airbags.
proper stunt coordinators.
Right.
There's stunt coordinators that are horrible as far as safety goes and everything. And the fact that they're more production oriented instead of ordering 8 porta pits, you know, the
Trying to
production
cost
guy
down.
says
Yes.
no, we can't afford that. You can only get 6. A friend of mine died, John Berniker, not too long ago.
Absolutely, yes.
And ironically, that same stunt that he did, I had him do that same thing off a balcony, about 5 feet higher, maybe 30 feet or something. And we built a box catcher for him, working with an actor, getting thrown over the rail, all that kind of stuff. And there was no way that he would ever miss that catcher
Right.
because we built, cardboard boxes and
That's
all
right.
that kind of stuff. A year later, because they didn't have the right stunt coordinator and they didn't have the right safety equipment, the thing happens that we always dread is that the actor does this or you get pushed the wrong way, your clothes get hung up on something, and he missed the airbag. I mean, it wasn't an airbag, it was porta pits.
Porta pit.
And he was going like 25 feet into porta pits, which is a little edgy.
You know, either way you do it, you got to land right.
Yeah,
That's right.
your entry
That's
has to
right.
be
That's
perfect.
right. That's right.
With boxes, your entry can be flexible.
Yeah.
You know, so
I've gone through the boxes.
again, safety has come a long ways, but
ways.
looking in retrospect, there are still glitches
improvement.
in the system, and that particular situation was a lack of the stunt coordinator to have enough balls to say, hey, we either have what we need or we don't do it,
Okay.
period. But then they might say, okay, see you later. But as a stunt coordinator, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah.
If they don't want to do it the right way, then don't do it. Get somebody else. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
True.
I suppose from a coordinator's point of view, you need to be, firstly, able to do the job you've been employed to do.
That's right.
Have the right people around you to get the job done.
Yes.
But also have that vision of, being that 10 feet ahead the whole time of thinking what could happen.
We
Worst case
always
scenario.
think worst case scenario.
And usually the personnel that's going to hire either one of us is on our side,
Yeah.
cares about what we want to implement,
Yeah.
and then
They're,
we get
they're
our,
part of the team. Like when I hire people and everything, I wouldn't have them do anything I wouldn't do.
Right.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
same.
I've said, I want to do this. You guys step aside because the guy that I thought was the guy for the job was a little shaky on his
Yeah.
security. So rather than have him get hurt, I'd rather put the clothes on and do it.
Okay.
and Hal Needham would go, and if you guys can't do it, I'll do it. And you go, oh God, okay, I'm ready to go big now. I was going big. It's the truth, right?
So
Joe?
safety is still, everybody says, safety is a lot better, and it is a lot better, but still, you really have to fight for it sometimes. And as a stunt coordinator, you have that ace in the hole card.
Yeah.
You have that one card that's safety. Okay, if you guys, to the director and producer, if you guys sign off on it and you're happy with it, I'm going to stand outside here and you guys do it. But just keep in mind, if something happens, you guys are liable.
Right.
that word liability like freaks them every time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And you know, in a way, a good stunt coordinator is the person that really pays attention to the person that's going to do the stunt.
That's right.
Exactly.
If they can't do the stunt the way you want it, then you're going to have to change it
Right.
That's
so
right.
that they can do it
To the best of their ability.
their ability.
Because
Exactly.
we know in our minds how we would do it.
Yes.
So you try to school them or assist them, and we'll look at, if you kind of come up and you,
Yes. So body motions, when you talk to the person and you explain what you want, if they're kind of fuzzy and they're not
Yeah.
thinking clear, you go, okay, let's start all over.
that's right.
Yeah.
Let's do it
It's
Right. Go back to
the way
square
that
one.
you can do it.
getting a little scary. When you,
Yes.
oh,
Exactly.
shoot.
And there's times that you have to,
Rehearse.
rehearse a lot or embarrass the person and just say, I'm going to save you for something else.
Because that must have
You
been
could do
another area which
Yes.
which has changed
Many
considerably.
times.
The fact that maybe in the old days, or back in the day as it's referred to, you weren't given a great deal of opportunity to rehearse. You turn up and say, okay, this is what's happening this morning. You're doing this and you're doing that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you've got to work things out.
You have a
There's
week,
pre-viz and all this
And
sort
they
of stuff.
build you a set, and it's previs and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to watch too. I have one here too. He's sitting next to me. Is that watching our pride? So, Joe, was I on a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke for Ron Stein doing the oval track? Joe would know. So anyway, and I'm gassing it. I think Greg's doing pretty good. I can ride, and so finally after a while, and then Houndy is tracking me and getting on there. I get off the bike. I go over to Mr. Stein. I said, Ronnie, buddy Joe, that's the guy. Let me get my outfit
I
on.
hope it was a 2-stroke.
I don't know the bikes like you guys so much. So anyway, I gave it to Joe, and Joe killed the job. But I knew that. I'm a stunt coordinator too. And then I thought, well, what's ever going to happen? Ron came up to me later and said, I really respect you for what you did. And I went, oh, wow.
Well, that takes a lot of guts to
Yes.
do that.
Absolutely. This
That's
is
the only
point.
time I did that in my
This
whole
is the
life.
point I made. It's all, it's terrific to have recognition in the way in which, as I said, younger members, guys and girls coming on and go, Greg, oh my God, I remember that thing you did on Patriot Games was sensational. I loved it, and etc. They do the whole thing with everybody. But when the coordinator comes over and goes, that was fucking good. That was the best job we've done. Without, we don't need it again. We've got it, and everything. Everybody's happy. That's got to be sensational, hasn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Really, the recognition
Yeah.
you're looking for.
It's like
So what that means that I'm going to hire you
Exactly.
a whole lot more.
it's
That's-
like we
so
just
not-
got a
that's
mini
right.
a
Yeah.
mini Academy Award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just got a little one.
And one thing too, which I never ever thought about, because I think of Buddy Joe, Alan Alany, Ronnie Rondell, keep going down the list. They're legends. And then when they start getting around me and all these, Barnett, that guy's a legend. No, I know the legends, but Joe, what you mean? They start
Yeah.
calling you, they see all your work and the thing and the deal, and I go, I don't know, I know the legends, and
It's hard when people call you a legend, isn't it? Like, how do you react to that?
yeah,
It's like-
I don't, because I already said in my mind, I know them, I work with them.
Up until about 25 years ago, right, the word legend meant exactly that, right? It meant that there's an individual or somebody who stands head and shoulders above everybody else, and they're able to do this, and nobody else has ever done it, giving them legendary status. Nowadays, if you come home unexpectedly with sandwiches, oh, you legend! It's ridiculous. They're using the same thing.
It's so
It doesn't
true.
work.
It's so true.
It doesn't work.
You go
Whereas
to
those names
sandwiches.
that you refer to, those great names that you refer to, yes, legends, every one of them, doing something. I know half a dozen motorcycle guys, right? You did a thing, motorcycle, Airwolf. You did a motorcycle thing on Airwolf.
Oh, yes.
Off a cliff, over backwards,
Yes.
over the thing, ended up like, I don't know, like an ostrich with your head buried in the sand. It was just gnarly.
No, I didn't get my head up. I got my shoulders right
Shoulders, there you go. It's
Head,
close.
head and
Head and
shoulders.
shoulders. Right? It was just the shoulders. And I think you won a stunt award
Yeah.
for it at the time.
Yeah.
But it's still talked about as being the legendary dismount from this bike. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't dismount; he alighted. It was this wonderful thing of that type of stuff, those type of moments referred to.
And I think if I surmise correctly, he's done the most cannons. I believe I'm right. That you,
I think so far.
I think no one's beat you in how many
Is
cannons.
there any truth in the rumor that you go through a script and go, "There's no cannons in this. Why have I been sent this script? What's the point of me being on this picture?"
Can we
Proof.
add one?
Death Proof apparently didn't have any until he took.
We could say Hal has done the most testing.
Yeah.
I
The
did
rocket,
like
the rocket car.
On Death Proof, probably 6 cannon rolls on that show.
On one show?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I did on. Did you work on 10 rounds down in New Orleans?
No.
Oh, I did in one day. I did 4 cannon rolls with the trolley hitting a pickup truck and flipping me over.
Wow.
And the reason I had to do it 4 times, and it was one of those kind of things where you're going like this, and you have to be exactly right on the money, you know. Otherwise, it's not going to work. First 2 times, the cannon didn't go. The effects guys fucked up.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So I still got hit, and it went, but I thought it was pretty spectacular, but they didn't think it was. So we did it twice more,
And then it was great.
and then it was great.
He
But-
did a pickup truck. I think, I keep saying this number, but he corrects me. 24 times, I thought.
22.
I knew it. 22 times he took the pickup truck and rolled down the.
Well, that's a sand dune. I remember that.
Yeah.
And it
Down a
just
sand
took
dune.
It, yes, down and down it. Oh my God.
My friend and I, Jerry Randall. Well, that was another thing. That's a good example while we're on that. Is back in the day, we were still looking for recognition and building up a reputation. So we had just done a film with the same producers and actors, Hell's Angel 69. So we heard that they were going to roll this truck down the hill, that sand dune. So we went out to location one day just to see what they were up to and everything, and asked the producer, like, what are you guys going to do? How are you going to get the truck over the edge? Well, we're just going to push it and let it go. And with what, dummies in it? They go, yeah. And we go, well, yeah.
Dummies.
I think that Jerry and I want to do it, want to do the stunt. And we can be your new 2 dummies. And they go, oh, we don't have any money. We don't have that kind of money. And we look at Jerry and I look at each other and we go, how about 500 apiece?
Make me an offer.
And the producer goes, you're the new dummies. So we did that. We did it, and we were trying to break the existing car roll at the time was 10 rolls or something.
Was he?
Yeah, on McHugh
Yes.
that he did.
McLeod.
But that was assisted with a cannon roll. This was
natural, wasn't it?
this was natural.
Natural. Yeah.
So we wanted to beat that record. So that was one of our aims. Plus, we knew people were going to talk about it. We had no idea. So we're in there. It's going like that, and we're counting 1, 2, 3. We're having a blast, right? 10. And then the shit starts coming apart. The
Oh,
truck's coming, and we're looking at each other, 11, 12, and then we're going, when is this thing gonna stop?
When the car falls apart
Yeah.
to just
Yeah, I
everything
mean,
bits were coming
so
off.
it went from really fun time to
Harrowing.
I'm getting
like
Joe,
I
not
mean,
even
frightening.
not even a loop, no cage, no a loop, something.
We had
No, they had
one
the cage.
loop over the top and one
Bar.
down pull. That was it. And I think we had 5 points, but
Okay.
I'm not sure because you can see at one point about 10 or 12 that our seat belts had broken loose from
God.
the thing because we're hitting together. Boom!
Oh, jeez.
Boom! And Jerry, when he rolls out like that, you can see him. He's holding the top of the pickup truck, and right before it hits the ground,
He
puts
brings his arm
hand
in.
It goes
Oh
again.
my gosh.
So yeah, it was a frightening
Yeah.
experience.
At some point,
But after that, when we did that, we said, you know what? If we survived this, there is nothing going to kill us.
Yeah.
So after that, I never really worried about any car stunt. I just went, dude, if that one's not going to get you, we're in solid.
Because the majority of the car gags and turnovers that you all will have done at some point will, they make it as safe as physically possible. That is a great example of one that really isn't.
No,
It's
but
got so I know it has to. It's because of the nature of it. It has to go in a different way. But
well, here's the thing: was when we went there, they had it fixed for the dummies.
oh, of course, right.
Yeah.
And they didn't change that. They just
No,
changed the
no,
people
no,
inside it.
because we did it the next day.
Yeah.
Was it Guinness World Book of Records?
It should have been, but we
I
never.
don't think it was then.
Oh.
We never did any of
shoot.
that stuff. Back then, it
I
was
know, I
just,
know.
hey, we walked away, we're cool.
That's
So
right.
they never thought of.
Never
Oh.
thought about Guinness.
We had dummies in there. We have real guys. I think we should maybe
We
put
should
a roll
educate
cage in there
them.
now.
That's right.
But that would have been
I know.
more money
Yeah.
and this
Well,
and
yeah.
that and everything.
They would have nixed
Yeah.
it.
They
I think
would have
the-
said
I
no.
think the worst part was the transportation people when they give you some of the worst,
Oh, yeah.
raggediest car, and you got to throw it sideways and then hit the switch and do your cannon.
Yep.
And they give you a piece of garbage and you can't get it around. I had one director tell me, "Can't you get the?" I said,
No brake.
I said no power.
No
tell someone
e-brake.
with the. So finally, I got it around, pushed the button, and it went over. And finally, you did a good job.
I learned
Nice.
that lesson early up, and
Yeah, you were losing
Again,
time.
I would take it to the mechanics in the transport department and tell them exactly what I want. Be there when they're putting the roll cage in and your seat and all that.
Well, the director was Phil Bundelli. I know you know.
Oh
Yes.
yes.
That's
No
the
Phil.
worst. And I had nothing but arguments with him.
Oh, he was terrible.
Alan, why can't you get? I said, Phil, if you get transportation to give me a good car, I said it will be
Or
no
just
problem.
give me a car with an
Yes.
e-brake.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
That's all.
And Joe's talking about the roll cages. I've
Yes.
done 6, one dune buggy, the rest just normal cars, pipe ramps off the end of pier, whatever. The 4th or 5th one, they called me. And I said, okay, just look at it. Give me a loop over my head where I'm driving. Put Lexan always behind my tempered. Put a steel rib, 1, 2, 3, and that windshield won't come on me. Long story short, I get there, I check it out. God, you got to be kidding me. What, I talked to the guy on the phone for nothing? 30, 40, huge crew. I said, okay, well, I'm going to die here. Oh, God, you should have seen him. No, I'm not. Now I'm, Rondell said, no, now I'm pissed off. Let me back the thing up, pedal to the metal, let's go. I knew it was happening. And I was faster than that, I think, because I got ready. It was just a little 5-foot pier there.
Windshield came in.
Oh man, went like this. I got down behind the really fast, like I should, but I was fast. Did there, no biggie, but scrapes, a little bit of blood, because I deflected the windshield, went over my head. Then now,
Yeah.
time for a small internal, low volume internal mass. Exhale through your nose. Now I can see. Oh my God, Joe. I needed bear grease to get out of there. And I said, well, Craig, what's the best way? I'm not going front. Okay, I got it.
Isn't it something but you do this, first of all, you panic. I've been down there 60 feet of water stuck in
Yeah.
a car. First thing you do is panic. And then you go, no, you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
No, Greg, don't panic.
Just
Everything's cool. Let me figure this out.
Exactly. And
Because
so I,
otherwise,
that's right. So I turned over and I reached on the top and slid myself through it. Didn't catch anything. I said, they're going to get a lesson here. So what I'm known for, I held my breath, went underwater about 30, 40 feet away, came up as if you're watching yourself perish. You know, look, did you see him? I don't know. Oh, more coming. 5 are there now. Oh, I mean, he said, oh, well, then look at them. This is good. This is good. And I got a loud one. I let it blast loud. Hi.
I'm over here.
Hi. Tried to look like a dummy. Wait till you get that car, then see what it looks like. And I don't know, we'll forget it here, but whoever didn't follow up what I needed.
there's a lot of, there's many, not many, 3, 4
Yes.
people that I know of that have perished in those situations.
Yes. That one guy, I don't remember the name, but was like in a pickup truck or
pickup
something.
truck, that's
Right,
right, I
and he
remember,
went
yes.
in, but he was at such an angle he couldn't get out
Is
of his
it
door.
back east? or
It
here?
was here, I think.
Yeah, it was here.
A name, and then anyway,
Was
he
that
just.
Conrad Palmisano's buddy, Vic Rivers?
Yeah.
Thank you, Vic
Vic
Rivers.
Rivers.
Vic Rivers.
Vic Rivers.
Vic
Yeah,
Rivers.
Vic
In the
Rivers.
Malibu Lake.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
wasn't so much.
Yes, I remember that.
The reason he couldn't get out is because they didn't pre-dive it or anything
Right.
to check out the bottom.
Always.
And there was silt.
That
Right.
much.
The truck sank in there and he couldn't get
Yeah.
out. Now, why he didn't maybe have his window down and all that.
I
don't
always
know.
do that. And then also, you
But-
didn't have
or
a,
the
a
back
bottle
window
in there
out,
with you,
or
a
the
small
silk was
spare
so-
air. We didn't have spare airs then, but just
Yeah.
a
Tank.
Tank.
that's right.
Spare tank.
Put a bottle in there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Always.
And then by that time, someone will be able to help you, but you're sucking on air.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
They would have time.
God, that's
But
so.
this guy is like, he's got gills.
Yes.
You know-
Well, the Aquaman, exactly. We
Water,
talk about
Water
he-
World. Harris.
he
I mean,
is actually-
Kevin Costner.
Oh yeah, that was.
You should see
Yeah.
some of the stuff he did on Waterworld. Like
That
it
whole
would,
production was
I
remarkable.
don't know if we're
Stuff.
recording, but it would chill your shit.
Yeah. That's
80 feet with no mask, fin, and snorkel going down. And I
80
looked
feet.
around, you know, and I said, you know, what's up today? You know, is Joe have a close up? Is Alan going to get a couple things? What you? They're like this. It's you.
it's you.
No, I never just been me. 8 hours, 10 dives.
Wow.
I was so tired. I said, well, here's the deal then. Here's how it works. You don't know probably. I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to get
Didn't
myself.
they think about embolism and all that?
I know. I'm going to be about chest level, right about here, and I'm just going to be hyperventilating, and that's what you do when you breath hold dive.
Yes.
And I'm going to just be like this, and so I don't need to talk to anybody, but I'll raise my hand like this, because I'll hear you say, you know, you're getting ready with the camera. You're talking about where we got speed. Then I'm going to open up my fist, my hands open, last breath, and down I go.
Okay.
And wow, 10 of those. You come back and you relax again. I said, I got to recoup myself. It's just not going to be, you know, you got to hyperventilate and get your air in your lungs ready to go. The pressure alone down there at 80 feet, and I had guys at 30. I had guys at 30,
But aren't
40,
you
and
supposed
60.
to stop
Well,
on your, when you
with the
ascend?
equalizing the
Equalizing
ears.
ears, yeah.
But if I'm not on air,
Yes.
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm holding my breath. But the ears, the first one got my ears, and I was kind of going so quick, and I looked over at the guys and I said, not that I was out of air, that's a sign, but just,
Good.
and they followed me back up. I took myself back up, you know, no fins, so I'm just trying to get up there. I said, guys, I was
You are
having
this guy, what's
yeah,
that called?
yeah, undulating.
Yeah, but no,
The man from Atlantis.
The man from Atlantis.
yeah, but there's a name for that.
Oh,
Porpoising?
Porpoising.
Yeah.
You're right. So anyway,
He does that.
that all that stuff. 8 months something in Hawaii, and we love that. And yeah,
I'll tell you what, I'd rather go to the truck thing again than to do one of
Yeah,
those.
absolutely.
Just one of those.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it.
You're either, you know, you're either comfortable underwater at depth or you're not. There's no
Yeah.
fine line
Yeah.
between the two.
No.
It's one or the other. And yet, in respect of turning cars over or doing falls or bits and pieces, you do one, you go, oh, okay, and then you can prepare yourself for what's coming.
Yeah.
But underwater, there's just elements there which...
I
That's
was
one
sitting.
thing you can't panic underwater.
Yes.
Yes.
You cannot.
I was sitting in the dune buggy, going to go off Paradise Cove Pier before the pier was taken out by the nasty weather.
Right.
So I had to come up dogleg left, go around the shack, go back out, and I start putting that pedal to the metal. We have a 2-foot kicker, so that's going to help me,
Yeah.
about 2 feet, about like that. I was up 50 feet. I went to the bait shack, and then, of course, when you're out there, inside you're going, whoa, well, you know, no
Waiting
one
for the
sees,
impact.
no one sees that, and then you go in, and then whack, and then again that wonderful Lexan that I always set up behind the plexiglass never comes in, and all 6 of them except the one came in on me.
We just change direction slightly for a moment because obviously...
Are you recording any
I'm
of
recording,
this?
yes, we are
Oh.
recording.
Really?
Yes. It'll be a highly edited.
I've
don't
been
worry.
swearing.
You've been fine. We're
He
a very...
he wasn't
We're a
recording.
very open channel. It's perfectly fine. There are words you can say which are tomorrow night is Taurus. I say 25 years of the Taurus Award. Back 25 years ago, it was considered, even though it was a huge event, it was considered by many to be a bit of a sort of flash in the pan thing. You know, once the excitement wore off, Red Bull would just disappear and go away in different directions. And that hasn't really been the case. I mean, 25 years later, we're still doing it in a different
And even
capacity.
after Dieter passed
Exactly.
away, it's still
It's still big
hanging
as ever.
in there.
Yeah.
How important has Taurus been to the business itself? Obviously, prior to the Oscar recognition.
Well, I think the grandeur of it initially was when we had your star, whether it was Arnold Schwarzenegger
Present,
or what,
yes.
the presenting, being there, being present. It made it, wow! It was grandeur.
Yes.
Now they put us in the room inside.
Well, the thing is that even at its most grand
Sure.
point,
Yeah.
it still was basically for us.
Yes.
It was a kind of, awards for us. It really didn't get out to the public that much, I don't think. That it wasn't a precursor to the Academy Award.
No.
I don't think it had anything to do with promoting that. I think basically, as far as I was concerned, it was for, our industry.
Yeah, I think that the first award show really was in 1986
Yes, the stuntman.
at the Stuntman's Award, but where
That
we
was a
got
good one.
where we got recognition, which
Yes.
Burt Reynolds was the host of
That's
the
right.
show, and I believe that
Was
Hal
that-
Needham was included in that.
Was that Bobby Bass's one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
it was ABC or.
I won for Airwolf.
yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I won for
He
Airwolf
won for
too,
Airwolf.
the motorcycle.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
got the Beverly Hills Cop and
Yes.
the fight
Yeah.
scene on
Yeah.
Police Academy and something else.
Yeah.
I'm in the back of a 3-ton truck with a ray gun, not really,
Yeah.
but ray. And Davy Jones is coming in the chopper, and look out for me.
yes,
The
that's
fireball was so big you couldn't see Barnett. No, really, it was. Where is he? I'm
Yeah.
here, and just wham, boom, the whole back of the truck, and I'm going. I'm in here.
Because those shows, I mean, we saw them in the UK, particularly the two. There was the Burt Reynolds one, the first one, and then
Yes,
Lee Majors.
Lee Majors, Jan Michael
Yes,
Vincent.
yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
yes.
That
And
was the
there was
second one.
one young gentleman that came and interviewed me and was following a thing where he was going to do something with Airwolf, but I don't know if it ever. He was from the UK.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but he. Oh, the information he got and how many interviews and I don't know.
Well, this is it. At that time, this is pre-internet and all that sort of stuff. So this show was late. No, in point of fact, that's not true. They were shown at Christmas time in the UK, in the Christmas the holiday period, mid-afternoon, right? So that's that type of thing. Now, when it came to Taurus at first, those first 2 or 3 shows, which were the bigger ones,
Yes.
they didn't turn up till like 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was a late night thing on commercial TV, and so we had to record them so we could watch them, afterwards. And they didn't really seem to get the same sort of recognition that from that point of view. Oh, there's an award ceremony for stunt people. That wasn't really part of the deal.
Right.
It was. You look at the photographs and all the other bits and pieces, and oh look, there's Schwarzenegger, and there's Harrison Ford, and there's this and there's that, and slowly but surely, it started doing the thing
diminished.
right, or better.
But
It got
but that
smaller.
kind of thing is exciting for us.
Yes, of course.
Shoot, we're working with all these guys, and it sparkles, huh, Joe?
Yeah.
It
sparkles, baby.
I like it.
Exactly what Shirley Temple's mother used to say to her before every take. Sparkle, Shirley. Okay, Mom.
Okay, Mom.
Sparkle.
I'm going to tell myself that.
Yes, before every
Sparkle. Sparkle, dude.
You can do this.
Yeah.
But I think it's remarkable to be given an opportunity to come here. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store. This is ridiculous. For the idea that I'm being invited along to go tomorrow night and do some red carpet
Oh,
stuff.
That's great.
Great.
And then go in and see the show live.
And both Vic and Andy were honored.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and Debbie's being honoured this year.
Yes.
Which is sensational. I mean, she's I don't know where. She's got so many Taurus awards.
It does.
I don't know where you would put them all in her.
I know.
Now to get
And they're big.
They're not.
And they weigh a ton.
You got one, didn't you? For a big Taurus award.
No.
I was up once for it, but our car chase didn't win. Joe, how many do you have?
I just have one for the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
Yeah, I have
That's
a
right. I was
Lifetime
there. That was
Achievement
great.
Awards.
Right.
Oh, that was excellent. Yeah. Wow.
They gave me a flag.
Huh?
Flag.
They gave me a flag. They've flown around Washington, D.C. or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And they presented me a flag.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, all of the organisations now, like SAG Awards, they have a stunt ensemble. The Emmys, stunt ensemble. Here in the UK, Britain, BAFTA, don't. They're the only ones really that don't. Now, even what I'm assuming will happen is now that the Academy have said, okay, we'll have, even after 40 years of saying no, for no obvious reason, which still bothers me enormously, but for them to go, okay, maybe that sadly is the catalyst where BAFTA will go, well, in this case,
Yes.
we'll sort something out. It's been
Hopefully, it just depends on how the Academy's going to handle it. They have our award in the technical category,
yes,
which none of that appears on the Academy Award
No, that's right.
shows.
it's
Those are like separate little.
other awards that happened earlier.
Yeah,
exactly,
you get those the day before, no kind of coverage.
And then
So we always thought that, Bobby Bass and I, for it's been 30 years now that we've been having meetings with the Academy to try and get them to do it with, I don't know how many different presidents and so
exactly.
forth. They never could come up with a reason why. They did do one thing that was cool. They said, okay, well, the only way we can start your own category is we need to have some stunt coordinators in here. So myself and I think 6 other guys were the first guys that got inducted into the Academy. So since then we brought in a lot more people because they said,
It has to be 100 now, doesn't it? Is that the
yeah.
minimum?
They said, well, how do we vote on it? How do we this? Well, we don't have to vote on it. We don't have to have numbers in there. Say the directors and producers vote on it,
Yeah.
or the same people that vote on Best Picture or that kind of thing. We never could get them to give us any kind of definitive reason why.
And yet the other thing, which was very annoying, they kept saying no to the stunt thing, but then added 2 categories.
Oh,
For other- you go, well, wait a minute.
constantly.
Yeah.
They've been adding categories for the last 30
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
But now 2027,
I mean,
don't we have
how-
the Academy Award, don't we?
How much more
28
important
would be the 100 one.
is hair as
Sound.
important as action to a film?
Right.
Now, seriously,
Right.
when you look at the highest grossing films in the last 2 decades or whatever,
Yeah, being
most of them are
action
action oriented,
films.
Right.
right?
Yes.
And
007.
I find it very hard to understand why an Academy of Motion Pictures sycophants or, people that should know don't.
Well, that's the point. It's just it doesn't seem to make any sense.
You know why?
It's
I figured out is they don't want the audiences to know that the actors aren't doing their
There
own
it is.
stunt.
I mean,
There it
that
is
used
right
to be
there.
written into the contracts.
There it
is
wasn't
right
the fact
there.
that you can- what's the great one? Is Harvey Perry.
Oh, yes.
Harvey Perry.
Harvey Perry.
Doubled Harold Lloyd
Yes.
for years.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And wasn't allowed to say anything. And
Yes.
he had a contractual agreement with Harold Lloyd, who said, "When I die, tell the world. It's fine. Put it in writing." Right? And he did.
Mhm.
And he gave it to him, and nobody believed him. Because that's obviously the thing. But that was the big sort of stuff where you can't say anything because the star needs to get it. They did it. That nobody needs to know.
But here's the thing, with that in mind, how stupid and is the viewing audience? Do they not know?
Do they not think?
Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
it's 2026. They can't understand that the actor isn't doing his own stuff.
And yet
except
now we've
Cruise.
come full circle because you have Tom Cruise very clearly,
Yes.
in the shot, doing everything.
But that's one.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one individual, right? Take any other feature film, and you're going to find a bunch of stars. You know this as well as I do. A-listers who will go, not in a million years will you get me up there.
Exactly.
That's Greg's department. That's Buddy's. That's Alan's job. Let them deal with it. I'll do the lines and I'll step down here. But you've got doubles for this.
Yeah.
But there are those individuals who will just go that little bit further to the point now where people as successful as Wade Eastwood has become, coordinating those Mission Impossible pictures.
Yes.
A lot of people are saying the only reason that Tom does what he does is because he's the producer of the movie, and
Well-
has say-so to go, no, I'm doing it.
Well, he in his contracts for years now, if because the producers were saying no,
Right.
and he said, okay, well, if I can't do what I want to do, stunt-wise, action-wise, then I'm not doing the film.
Okay.
Bottom line. So
All of a sudden they go, well, let's think
Let's
about it.
renegotiate that.
You have to understand though that the actor will go out and say, "Well, I do my own stunts."
Uh-huh.
Okay, although he has a stunt double that does all of the stunts. One is that they can't afford, insurance-wise, for the actor to do his own stunts and get hurt. They're going to shut the show down.
Production down, absolutely.
Right, they're going to shut it down. So, and then again, it's not good for them to say stunts because people are out there going to try them out, saying, "Oh, you do your own stunts, so you're a fight man or this and that," and then he gets his butt kicked.
And we have to agree that Burt Reynolds did a lot of his own stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Burt used to live with Hal,
Yeah.
they trained together, they did all sorts, and Burt was very capable.
Yes.
yeah,
Of
and
doing
there's a
it.
lot of actors that are very capable, but going back to what Alan said is that the producers can't afford that.
No.
There's millions and millions of dollars involved.
And then that's what Robert Conrad did
Yes.
on his show. He fell and broke himself up
Right.
and shut the show down. And
That's
that's
right.
it shut the show down. They lost money. So now you have to have a double.
Yes.
I mean, the actors say today now, "Oh, I have a stunt double now."
I got 3 of them.
Yeah, like Jackie Chan. It's like 3 or 4 of them.
That's right.
I think that's where there's a lot of changes happened. Is that it is possible for a leading actor, actress to go onto a chat show or go onto this, and the presenter go, "You did a lot of your own stunts." No, I just did action.
Yeah.
Really, my stunt double was so and so,
Yeah.
and name them.
Right.
You know,
Doesn't make them a bad
Doesn't
guy.
make
No.
them a bad person.
That's
it makes
awful.
them, it makes them a good person.
Makes
That's-
them smart.
That's
Smart.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important. That's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, wrapping up,
Yes.
right? Because I've kept
Wrapping
you on.
up. Come on, we just
We
got
got
going.
3 hours yet, dude.
We've been here for an hour and a half.
Huh?
Have
We've
we?
been here an hour and a half.
Oh, wow, doesn't seem
It
like it.
feels like 5 minutes, I know, but
What's the daily?
I love listening to your guys' stories.
it's in the post, boys. All right. I just thought we'd maybe go round and have a little look at your from a stunt perspective, a moment in your career that you go, that was really as good as it got. Up to this day now, doing what you're doing, a moment that you can go, that was sensational. What a great job. Something that you'll never forget, never.
Mean that you did personally?
Something that you did personally as a performer, not so much as a coordinator, but as a performer, where you've gone, wow, I might not get an opportunity to do that again, but that was really special, and I will always remember that moment. Al, what do you think?
I know one.
Oh gosh.
The one where you went white.
Wow.
What?
That was
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
That's when I was on the back of the truck.
Oh, the truck, yeah.
And,
Oh, yes.
and they didn't know exactly that the truck was going to tilt over.
They didn't
and
know
I was
that a
gonna come
maniac
out.
was driving.
And we had Gary McClarty driving.
Oh, gosh.
And every time he turns, the back trailer would tip over. So then what they wanted me to do was tie myself on the chain.
I wanted to ask, because obviously you come out round the side of the
Right.
wagon, and I
Right.
wondered whether that had been something that you thought, oh, I can do this, or that's,
Well-
can I get enough?
There again comes gymnastics.
Right.
You know how to hold on, you know what the body flow and
Yes.
everything. So what happened was that he came around, the trailer tipped over, I came out, hit, and what they wanted to do, like I said though, was tie me on. I said, you tie me on, I won't be able to get away
let
from
go.
it if that trailer falls